Hello BookTube, this is part 25 of my 2022 library tour. This is the second shelf of my science fiction and fantasy part of my library. Today it's all bees. The first three books are a completed trilogy, starting with The Garden of Stones by Mark T. Barnes. This is followed up by The Obsidian Heart and The Pillars of Sand. So I first discovered these three volumes via BookTube. There was a booktuber a few years ago who specialized mostly in science fiction and fantasy. I don't think it was A Common Touch of Fantasy. It could have been Radioactive something. I don't remember. I remember he was a German booktuber who focused on science fiction and fantasy, and he recommended these books. I think he reviewed the trilogy or something, and I thought it'd be interesting to read them, and so I picked up the entire trilogy. Had a go at The Garden of Stones, and didn't particularly care for it. I don't remember how far I got or much about it, so I probably ought to revisit these three here in the not too distant future, just to see if I really want to keep them in my collection. Next is The Counselor by E.J. Beaton. This is about a young courtier who is appointed regent when the queen dies, with the responsibility to manage the succession to the throne and to manage the kingdom until the succession is managed, when she decides she wants the throne for herself, or she desires it. She develops a taste for power and authority. I didn't particularly care for this one. I don't remember how far I got before I bailed, but I didn't particularly care for it. Came out, I think, early last year. Next are the first two volumes in fantasy series by Bradley P. Bolio. This is 12 Kings and Serakai, which is about, I think, a young woman seeking revenge in a kingdom with 12 immortal kings. Haven't gotten around to it yet. And I haven't gotten around to its sequel, The Blood Upon the Sand. And the series is called The Song of the Shattered Sands. And obviously I haven't gotten to this one yet either. Next is Masks by E.C. Blake. This is a fantasy about a kingdom and empire in which everybody wears masks, and if you don't have masks or something, you're banished to work the mines. I haven't gotten around to it yet. I'm not entirely sure what got me interested in that particular book in the first place. Next is Homunculus by James P. Blaylock. I picked this up largely because the author shares the name of the English, well, at least the last name, of the English voice actor for King Bradley in the Fullmetal Alchemist anime series, the English dub. But I haven't gotten around to that one either, and I think I picked it up from the Friends at the Library sale nook. Next is a book I picked up from the Friends of the Library book sale from Waco, McLennan County Library. So this is The Book of Scathe, The Adventures of Eric John Stark by Lee Brackett. This is an omnibus edition that includes all of the Eric John Stark novels that I think came out in the 70s. Ginger Star, Hounds of Scathe, and Reavers of Scathe. which I've had a few goes at the Ginger Star and didn't particularly get on well with. Next is a collection of Lee Brackett short stories. This is the best of Lee Brackett, which I've read some of the stories in here, or at least just the Enchantress of Venus. Next is The Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley. This is her big Arthurian retelling, focusing on Morgan Le Fay, and reimagines the Arthurian myths or legends and with sort of a pagan, neo-pagan sort of milieu or influence. I read parts of this for a paper I did on Morgan Le Fay, but I've never read the entire novel, and I kind of do, even though, I mean, of course, there's a number of revelations about Marion Zimmer Bradley that came out the last 10 years that puts a damper on me wanting to actually get around to reading this. Next is another novel by Marion Zimmer Bradley. This is Web of Darkness, which I picked up from the Friends of the Library Sale Nook. The next 5 books are a completed series, of which I haven't gotten around to reading yet. This is The Warded Man by Peter R. Brett. And then I have The Desert Spear, again by Peter R. Brett. And then The Daylight War. The Skull Throne. And The Core. And of course I haven't gotten to any of them, so I really need to do that at some point. Next is Sundiver by David Brin. I think this is the first book in his Uplift series. It's about a science fictional universe in which most sentient species are uplifted by other sentient species, except for humans. Humans seem to be the only species that evolves sentience without artificial intervention. And this causes many problems for humanity as humanity begins to explore space and become involved in interstellar politics. Next is The Black Coast by Mike Brooks, which I picked up last year and had a go at sometime, I think it was in December. Might have been October or December. It's the first book in at least a trilogy in which a tribe flee their island homes to escape a coming Dark Lord figure. And so they come to a coastal region of a major kingdom where they have for generations raided, seeking settlement. And the island people and the people of the coast kind of gradually come together, despite many trials and conflicts and fights. At the same time, in a different land, a young thief becomes associated with an exiled prince whose family is being hunted by rivals. I didn't particularly get on with this book. I thought it's obviously the story's not going to be wrapped up in one book, or while one story is going to be wrapped up, the other isn't, and I didn't particularly care for it. And finally, Terry Brooks. This is Wizard at Large, the third book in the Kingdom of Landover series. Picked this up from the Friends of the Library book sale nook, and obviously haven't gotten around to it because it's the third book in the series. Excuse me. So that was shelf 2 of the science fiction and fantasy section of my library. I'll be back with part 3 and of course part 26 of the larger 2022 library tour. I don't know if I'll be doing a tag video tomorrow or not. It depends how much time I have. But anyway, until I see you tomorrow, BookTube, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.